Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we will learn about Certara's Phoenix Winonlin Secure. Before we jump in to the presentation, there's a few things I'd like to share with you for webinar logistics. This will be a 30-minute plus webinar with additional time at the end for Q&A. If you experience any technical difficulties, please message us using the chat. During the presentation, all participants are in listen-only mode. As a reminder, today's webinar is being recorded. We'll email you and send you a link to the recording in the next few days. You have the opportunity to submit text questions using the chat pane in the control panel. We will answer your questions right after the main presentation. So just to introduce myself, my name is Michael Clifton. I'm a product owner here at Certara, and I work specifically on the Integral and Phoenix Winonlin softwares, which will be part of the focus of today's webinar, as well as touching on the validation suite that's provided with Phoenix. But today's webinar is about Phoenix Winonlin Secure. So just to kind of give you a brief overview of each of the components of Winonlin Secure. Phoenix Winonlin, that's the industry standard for non-compartmental analysis and pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic modeling and simulation. Winonlin's trusted algorithms in combination with Phoenix's built-in, easy-to-use graphical user interface and textual editor for advanced analysis makes it an important analysis software in clinical research. Certara's Integral repository is a cloud-based, SaaS-hosted, validated 21 CFR Part 11 compliant data and model repository with an intuitive user interface for collecting, managing, sharing, and storing multiple types of data sets for analysis. Phoenix Winonlin Secure utilizes the NCA toxicokinetic modeling and PK/PD modeling that comes with Phoenix Winonlin and the storage capabilities of Integral to give you a streamlined and secured workflow that allows the user to connect, capture, and visualize, as well as analyze data anytime, anywhere, while ensuring compliance guidelines are met. As you can see here, some of the types of people that'll benefit from Phoenix Winonlin Secure would be your pharmacometricians, pharmacokineticists, as well as pharmacodynamics, clinical pharmacologists, as well as DMPK scientists. So the next couple of slides will kind of go into some of the each of the kind of main features of Phoenix Winonlin Secure. First part is Phoenix Winonlin. With a proven 30-year history, Phoenix Winonlin is used by over 6,000 scientists at more than 1,500 establishments in 60 countries, including top pharmaceutical companies, academic institutes. Regulatory agencies, including 11 divisions of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the Japan Pharmaceutical and Medical Device Agency, China Food and Drug Administration, and the UK Medicine and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency all use Phoenix Winonlin to evaluate drug submissions. And as you can see here, we have some key functionalities listed here for Phoenix Winonlin. Like I mentioned before, you have the NCA and the individual PK/PD modeling engine and statistical analysis tools. The NCA engine is pretty powerful when it comes to generating additional parameters used on analyzing plasma and urine data. That allows you to save time, reduce errors, and provide higher transparency for your work, as well as, sorry, just move some of this around. Your organization, if they have strict criteria when it comes to setting terminal slopes, your lambda z criteria, the NCA in Phoenix Winonlin allows the user to define how those get calculated, as well as easily being able to calculate parameter ratios, which would allow, an increase in efficiency and saving time. So the next slide we have here, we're talking about the validation suite. So as required by the US FDA's 21 CFR Part 11 International Conference on Harmonization of Technical Requirements, known as ICH. You also have the IDRILEX Annex 11 and other regulatory agency guidance documents. Computer systems used in the pharmaceutical industry and output from software used in regulatory submissions must be validated to assure proper performance. This necessitates companies to invest significant time and resources to manually write and perform the validation steps used in software execution. Typical validation effort by manual test cases performed by an end user and manual cross-checking of those results using a third-party application could take weeks or even months to complete. With the validation suite for Phoenix Winonlin and NLME, which is already integrated into Phoenix, that provides software validation in less than 30 minutes with non-editable PDF reports containing links to saved reference files, user output files, and difference files. Updated validation template documents are aligned with the latest regulatory guidance, computer system validations such as ICH, good clinical practices, and can be readily modified to fit individual user organizational policies and procedures. And as you can see here listed with some of the key functionalities, like I mentioned, it's already integrated within Phoenix. It does require a separate license, which is available when you purchase the Phoenix Winonlin Secure Bundle. You can run standard test cases in the user's own environment, and you can compare results. Like I said before, the validation report's a PDF, so it's non-editable, and it comes embedded with links to the results from the validation suite. As well, you can use templates for documents, if, using Word to help you with modifying how those reports look, and computation engine verification report that comes with this can shows comparisons of results from Winonlin with other software with similar run methods. So the next slide here, now we'll discuss the integral repository. So you can see here some of these key customer benefits when it comes to integral. First one being it improves PK and clinical operational workflows. That means that Integral is accessible through the Phoenix platform as a plugin. It enables quick search and visualization of data, meaning that you can view the contents of certain file types as well as be able to graph that data through Phoenix. As well as create analyses that can easily be tracked, as well as tracking their source data and storing those results in the secure 21 CFR Part 11 compliant location. The next benefit here is you can make data-driven informed decisions. You have one centralized repository which provides data integrity across all your analyses, ensuring all data is up to date. The next benefit facilitates greater internal and third-party collaboration. As you can see here, Integral eliminates the need for SFTP sites and email data exchange with vendors. With Integral, you can seamlessly share and report data with CROs and partners without the need for a VPN. The next benefit here is ensures data is reproducible, traceable, and secure. Integral ensures analysis reproducibility by saving a complete analysis known as a save point in the repository. This is generated through Phoenix Winonlin plugin. Integral is designed to version these entire analyses and not just version the files themselves. As well, there's audit trails within Integral that are created on demand for files saved within the repository. This shows the who, when, why, and what for content history. As well, we have roles and security roles and permission groups that govern access in Integral, and also include the ability to blind and unblind repository content. The next benefit here is that Integral removes IT burden from your organization. Like I said before, Integral is a cloud hosted and validated by Certara prior to deployment of each release. And doing so, this removes the burden from your IT team. And then last was Integral enables customers to maintain compliance with FDA 21 CFR Part 11 and other regulatory body requirements, including GDPR. So exchanging data directly in the repository results in a closed chain of custody, which enhances traceability as well as audit readiness. And the next couple of slides will kind of go into a bit more detail about Integral. I'll just kind of go through these briefly, but I've already mentioned that Integral is 21 CFR Part 11 compliant. It's built using Amazon Web Services. It's a multi-tenant. It's a multi-tenant, but you could have a private tenant as well as co-hosted. There's a direct URL access to the repository, and we authenticate through Okta, which allows us to use a single sign-on. Like I mentioned before, we have different roles that can be used for security purposes and access, as well as permission groups that can configure certain permissions based off of the customer's needs. And the same goes for configurability, where you can set up folder structures based off of the customer's own working environment. So then that way we can harmonize with your storage and workflow. This next slide here is about programming and workflows. Just touches on the 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, where we have audit trails that track what happens to the data in Integral, as well as electronic signatures for certain actions, that requires a user signature and password, and that also gets tracked in the audit trail. And we have version control, which helps with traceability and auditability of the data. Dependencies, we have dependencies set up for creating copies of files, as well as dependencies for source data used in analyses, or what we called earlier save points. And then, Integral is a centralized data repository. It's a single source of truth, and the way the auditing is set up in Integral, it should help QC and QA's review processes. And then last part about Integral is just the system interaction and support. So we offer 24 hours a day, 5 days a week help desk, maintenance support and professional training program. You said before, validation is done by Certara, and Integral updates are based on user feedback. We're compatible with modern operating systems like Windows and Linux, as well as Integral is an agnostic tool that can be used with many other softwares. Today we'll touch on how it's used with Phoenix, but you can also use it with Piranha, SAS, R, Python, NonMem, etc. So this next slide here is kind of just like a basic structure of what typically happens when using Phoenix, Winonlin, and Integral. So you can see here, starting at the bottom right, this is the user's workstation. User would connect as they normally would to their computation environment. That would be Phoenix. User would install the Integral plugin for Phoenix, and that would mediate the transfer of information between our AWS cloud and the computing environment that you're using. This also allows the user to create, perform an analysis through Phoenix, Winonlin, and save that analysis and its results back to Integral, where they can be securely stored. You can also connect directly to Integral Data Repository through any web-based browser here. So you can see here, we have the cloud Integral right up here, and you can access Integral either through your web browser, for example, Chrome, or through your Phoenix that you're currently using. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll move on to the demo portion of the webinar, and let me just switch over to the screen here. Okay, so you can see here I have the Phoenix open. First part I'm gonna touch on is, I'm sorry, 1 second, just wanna make sure I have that. Okay, great. Yeah, so first thing we'll touch on here is the validation suite. So you can see here, Phoenix comes installed with the validation suite. When you click on this, you have this this menu here where you can go ahead and start the validation, which allow you to, select if you want to run that for Winonlin or NLME or both. You just select those, and then you'd select start validation. Once the validation runs through its process, then you would go back to here, and you could see here that would have a validation report generated for you. Now you can see here I ran a validation report right before this webinar, so I'll just go ahead and select that. And what you'll see here is this PDF file opens up that just kind of gives you, a signature page, for you to, verify the validation was completed, and then you can sign off and use that for your company. And then just to kind of scroll through these, it kind of gives you this summary of, which version of Phoenix to use the validation suite with, and then the number of test cases and how many failed and how many passed. And then if you see any of that, failed, you can, go through this in detail to find those that failed and see what can be done about those. But you can see here with what I ran previously, everything passed. And you can see here that here are the links that I mentioned before when it comes to the validation. And when you click on these, it'll open up the source data that was used for these validation tests. Okay, so now we'll touch on the integral part of the demo. So like I said before, Integral, you can access it through the Phoenix plugin here or through the Chrome browser. I'm gonna access it through the plugin browser. You can see here you have this menu option for opening up the browser, as well as the save as, and add selected item. I'll go through those in a little bit. But let's go ahead and open the browser. And this is configurable to which integral URL you'll point to. This is the one that we're using for today's demo, is the staging environment. So you can see here, you can choose to have it remember your username. So I can click next, and I'll go ahead and log in. And they'll go ahead and maximize this window. So you can see here with Integral, it's set up like a folder tree structure, which allows users to, go through, and you can see here there's certain filters here. You can either do a type ahead filter, or you can also set certain folders as favorites. But just to kind of give you a brief overview of the folder structures here. So we have this, say you wanted to, as a PK scientist, say you wanted to create a study and perform an analysis on some data. So first I need to create the folder for that study. So there is this add folder button here at the top. When you click on it, you can select the particular folder type that you want for your folder structure. In this case, for me, it would be study, but we can also, you can also create customizable folder types that have a particular structure. You can see here I want to use study. So with study, and with each of these folder types, you can configure them to contain certain properties. So for the study folder type, this one's associated with all these different properties that I can fill in. And I've already done that and created this demo folder for today's purposes. As you can see here, I have some of the properties already entered in: phase 1, crossover, randomized study design, and it's a clinical study type. Right? And just to kind of do a brief overview of these different tabs, so you have the contents, which for folders will show you the subfolders that are here. When it pertains to files, particularly CSV, XBT, or text files, the contents tab allows you to see the content of that file. Properties will list the folder files properties. At the history, this is where the audit trail occurs. I won't go into too much detail with this, but you can see it, track the creation of this folder as well as the properties that I added to this folder. And then you can generate an audit here, as well as permissions. And you can see who has permissions for this folder and what type of permissions they are. See there. And then CDisk for if you have any CDisk domains within your folders, they'll be tracked here and stored here, and you can. But for today's purposes, what we're going to do is I'm going to upload some data from my analysis. So as you can see here, this folder is set up for analyses, data, and documents. Data is typically where you would put your source data. Analyses, this is where you'll run the save points, the analysis itself. And then documents can be for templates, protocols, statistical analysis plans. But you can set these up however you want. So first, I'm gonna upload a data set. So you can see here when you click on the ellipsis menu, you have all these options. So I'm gonna select upload file, and I can either do a drag and drop of the file in here, or I can click, and this will bring me to my local directory where I will select the source data I want to use. So in this case, I want to use Clayton. So it's selected the file, and you can select more than one file to upload it at any given time. So for now, it's just this one file. I'm going to select upload. I'm going to add my reason, upload for analysis, and then I will sign. Make sure my username's correct, and then the password. And now you can see that the file is now an integral, and it has its own properties, as well as we can view the content of the data here. Not only can you view the content, you could edit it if you want. That's one of the newer features in Integral right now, but we'll save that for another demo. But for today, we'll focus on the analysis. So I have my source data. Now I want to generate an analysis. So I'm going to click on the analyses folder here. Think of the analyses folder as a save point container folder. It's going to contain the save points or analyses that you will run for this study. So to create one, I'm going to click on the ellipsis menu and select Add Save Point. You can see here it has the Phoenix symbol next to it. So I'll select that. And you can see here that you just can add a name to it. I'm just going to call it Test 1. And then this particular analysis can also be set up with certain properties if you wanted to, but as well as you can select your source data, or in this case, it's called dependencies. And what this will do is the files that you select here will be imported into Phoenix so that you can use them for the analysis, as well as link this file to this analysis. So if this file were ever updated, it would cause the save point to go out of date, and I'll show that here in a little bit. But first, I want to select my source data. Everything else looks good. I'm going to click Submit. And now we're back in Phoenix, and you can see it's creating the save point, and it's importing that data set I selected. All right, so I'll go ahead and import that. And let me minimize the browser here. So you can see here, when you create a save point, it creates a Phoenix project file um, that contains the dependency that you selected. So you can see here, there's my source data. So I want to run an analysis, but I don't want to start from scratch. I actually have a template saved that I want to use. Well, what you can also do with Integral is, if you wanted to, you can set up a global library to store your templates in. Sorry, global. Oh, I need to turn off my favorites. So there it is, global library. So you can see here, let me maximize this window. You can see we have different folders here for the global library, but I'm going to go into Phoenix template and I'm going to select analysis tools. And this is when you want to either load a template or load any file into the analyses that you're working on that wasn't necessarily in your study folder. What you can do is select the ellipsis menu, and there's going to be an option here called load selected item, and I will click on that. And as you can see here, the workflow updated, and it now has my template, which contains an NCA object as well as a plot, concentration time table, and PK parameter tables. So first thing I'm going to do is load my source data, and then I'm going to run my analysis. So what it's doing right now is the way I set up this template, it's able to run all of these objects one right after the other, so I don't have to do them individually. So you can see here my analysis is completed. I have some results from my NCA. I have my concentration time plots, as well as some tables for the concentration time data and the PK parameters. So now I want to save this analysis and bring these results into Integral. So what you would do here is you go to Integral, select Save. And you're given this this window here, which kind of gives you the basic properties for this save point, as well as this tab here called Save Options. Now this is where we can select the results that were generated for this analysis, and say we want them brought into Integral in a certain format. I actually have default save option settings that were already done for this. So you can see here, a lot of these are already selected, but I'll just kind of highlight one of them. And you can see here that what it does is it adds a name and the available format that's available to bring that into Integral. For this object here, I could have brought it in as an RTF, but instead I want to bring it into Integral as a text file. And the same goes for some of these other results. So you can select multiple of, you can either select one file type or multiple file types. But as you can see here, all my settings for my save options is set up. So I'm just gonna click the next arrow, and you can see here, we also have an option to lock this analysis or the save point once it gets saved to Integral. So if you only plan on doing the analysis once and you don't want anyone else to edit the analysis, you could select this option here. But for now, I just want to keep it open. So I'll select Finish, and then I'll add my reason, completed analysis, and then my credentials. Now we'll just give this a moment to run. Okay, there you go. Well, that's completed. So now I'm going to go back to my study folder. This one, demo 14. So I'm going to refresh this so you can see here. So you can see my analysis. It made it into integral, and you can see all of the results that were generated from this analysis. So you have the Phoenix project file that was used for the analysis, and then you have these are all of the items that I selected in that Save Options tab. And the good thing about save points is that the content of these files cannot be changed individually. They can only be changed as a package in the save point. So if you needed to make any changes, you would have to rerun the analysis, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So say the data set that I used for that analysis is now out of date. My clinic sent me an updated data set. So we have an option here of selecting upload new revision. So I'll do that. In this case, I'll select Clayton version 2. And you get this warning message letting you know, if you want to treat this as a new revision for this file. I select OK, add my reason. Sign. Okay, so let me refresh. So you can see the whole folder here turned red. So if you open up the folder and drill down, you can see here that our analysis folder is red, which means that it's actually out of date. And if I take you to the history tab here, there's a section here called Save Points, and it shows here that this analysis is out of date. And you can scroll down even further to say, why is this out of date? And it shows that, oh, the Clayton file that I used is out of date. So in that case, what can be done? So there's two possible things that could be done. If you still have the project open in Phoenix, what you could do is you could right-click on that Clayton file and select refresh from source, or in what I want to try right now, I don't need to save this. It's already saved in integral. That would be for if you wanted to save it to your local directory. So for what I want to demonstrate today is what happens when you load this save point into Phoenix. So, and it being out of date, as in a red folder. So you can see here, there's an option here for this analysis called load save point. I'll select it. It'll load the save point into Phoenix. And then you get this warning message. It says that it's out of date and asks you if you want to get the latest versions of your data. And I select yes. And you can see here, it re-imports the new version of that file. I'll click finish. All right, and then as you can see here, now I have the new version of this file, which I didn't really touch on before, but if you want to see the difference with that file, updating a file, like I mentioned before, it has version control. So you can see here it's now revision 2, and you can see that it contains a reason for me updating that file. So it imported the new version, and in doing so, it caused my workflow to become out of date as well in Phoenix. So all I need to do is just rerun my analysis. And there you go. My analysis is updated, and I'll go ahead and save this back to integral. Now, what you could also do is there's an option here called Save As. So Save As would allow you to save this analysis as a separate analysis. So it would start it out as version 1, and you could give it a different name. whereas save allows us to keep focusing on the main analysis that you're working on and incrementing those version numbers. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And I don't really need to do any other things with this. Just so you know, this, if you had made any changes to the save options here, it will remember those settings, so you don't have to do them again when you have to rerun the analysis. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish this out and add my credentials. Now we'll just give this a moment to complete the save. And there you go. And we'll take a look at the browser. And you can see it's red here, but when I refresh, now the folder is no longer red. And if I go to this analysis, you can see that it is now up to date. This is the new version of this analysis. If you needed to look at the older version of the analysis, it is here, but this is the current version right now. And you can see that we are using version 2 of this source data, as well as you can see when we updated the analysis, only these files needed to be updated. So you can see the results from the save point also have revision numbers, and based off of what was updated in the source data, these were the only files that were updated, and hence they have revision 2. And so yeah, and that's kind of the basic PK analysis demo and integral, but it kind of shows you how Phoenix, Winonlin, and integral work together in order to complete these analyses and make sure everything's being tracked, and you can easily audit these files, as well as be able to figure out that if there was a new version of the file, what changed in the previous file. There's also an option through these modules up here. We have a search, security, compare. Compare is the one I was actually particularly mentioning, and you can see here when I click on Clayton, it shows that there was a difference right here. So the concentration changed from 0.1 to 0. And some of the other modules here are copy link, where we can, this is where you can drag over a file and copy it into another study folder. We have the administration, where this is where you can configure how the folders will look for your studies, as well as configuring the properties. And then there's also a system audit report that this would be good for your QC and QA reviewers to, kind of keep track of what's going on in the system whenever it comes time for review. And that is that concludes the demo. So let me switch back to the screen here, the slide deck. So this slide is just to kind of touch on the the bundle that we're offering for Phoenix Winonlin Secure. With Phoenix Winonlin Secure, you get one license for Winonlin, one full user license for Integral, one admin license for Integral, and then one validation suite license. And this offer is valid until July 30th, 2022. So now that kind of brings us to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Let me see if, please feel free to enter in any questions into the panel. I see that we do have a couple of questions so far. I'll go ahead and get those started. So the first question is, can Integral be used by software other than Phoenix? This webinar did touch on the integration between Phoenix and Integral, but Integral can also be used by Piranha, SAS, R, Python, NumMem, etc. By using a client application that allows the users to sync results from these softwares between their local directories to Integral. And then the next question is that, is it necessary to be Part 11 compliant? So in order, for the FDA to accept results from a clinical trial, the results must be obtained and stored under 21 CFR Part 11 compliance. Yeah, there's no getting around that with the FDA. Okay, so do we have any other questions? Let's see here. All right, we'll just give a couple of minutes in case anyone else has a question. But if, after this webinar, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to sales at certara.com, and we'll be sure to address those for you. Okay, well, I guess that will do it for today. I just want to say thanks to everyone for joining today's webinar. And like I said, feel free to reach out to Certara with any other questions that you might have. Thank you very much.